This episode of the Good Ship Brothership is brought to you by something. If you need anything, well, we've got something. Head on over to www.insertwebdomainname.here.com today for some kind of discount on something. And now, on with the show.
And so I said to her, that's not a magazine. That's
an elf. No, that's bad. We are not off to a good start, everybody.
Okay. My notes for The Great Gatsby are not common.
Jason, people don't know. Actually, they do.
just-
Yeah, it's in the title of each episode.
So I'm going to have to kind of wing it.
Okay. Hey, good evening, everybody. It's Grant and Jason. You're aboard the Good Ship Brothership.
Toot, toot.
I farted already, and we're 36 seconds into the episode. I'm taking off my cardigan already because it's getting hot. We are literally sitting in a room in the basement in wife beaters, and Jason just had some sort of epileptic fit.
I just realized we were both wearing wife beaters.
Yeah,
And I just thought
and
that was kinda
we both worked out today. The veins are popping. We look fabulous and shining. I need to turn these levels down.
We're all oiled up for our podcast. Too much.
Yeah, this. Oh boy,
That's good.
I need to find like an established
Level.
volume for these. Yeah. Also, everybody. Hopefully it won't happen, but we've been having some audio issues, dropouts while recording. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But if it does, we're sorry, and we'll do our best to make things okay. Now, Jason.
When do we play?
Oh yeah, we should. Yeah, let's
Okay.
do that now. We have really nothing to speak about.
Before we play
Sheesh.
theme music first.
Yeah.
Done your problems.
Everybody, welcome to the Good Ship Brothership.
Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. I ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. She was looking kinda dumb with her finger and her thumb in the shape of an L on her forehead. Bum bum
Well, the
bum.
years
Stop
coming
and
and they don't stop coming. Fed
to the
duels and they hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Didn't make sense not to live for fun.
Your brain gets smart, but your heart gets dumb.
So much
To
to
do,
do, so much to
say.
say. So what's
Wrong with taking the back streets.
You'll never know
If you don't go, you never shine if you don't glow.
Hey, welcome to the podcast, All Stars. Oh no! Okay. Our equipment had a bit of a malfunction.
Those
there.
levels
We're
really
back.
spiked also.
I know they did. Let's take a look at them real quick. I mean, it's kind of too late to restart.
Now I feel this is a little bit odd because we don't
Oh,
actually
it's
have
fine.
tea, but we just had coffee. So
We have like dregs of coffee.
as long as I have some warm liquid inside me, I feel like we could record a good podcast.
Okay, so what we're gonna do first, rolling into these podcasts now, is we're gonna briefly touch on the topics that we touched on in the last episode, which for us were the movie Embrace of the Serpent and the album Skeleton Tree. We have not watched Embrace of the Serpent since the last episode, so we have nothing to say. However, for me, for Skeleton Tree, for those of you who don't know, I've been writing a novel. And as I write my novel, I like to listen to music, primarily now. Donnie McCaskill's jazz band's album Fast Future, I think it's called. Really great. Good instrumental stuff. Good jams. So I tried to throw on Skeleton Tree to have a little background noise going, but these songs demand so much of you that I could not focus on writing while it was playing. So that's kind of the power of these songs. Even after I'm familiar with them, they still demand a lot of you. And even tonight, actually, while we were preparing our delicious pasta supper, I was thinking, it'd be good to have some tunes playing while we're working up here. I could really go to listen to Rings of Saturn, because when can you not listen to Rings of Saturn? And then I was like, oh wait, all the other songs on that album are like horrendously depressing. so I elected not to bring it upstairs.
Thank you.
What about you?
I haven't really listened to it at all. I have nothing to
Jason.
add. I think that if I said anything, it would just be kind of disingenuous because, yeah, I don't really have anything else to add.
Whereas I'm genuous.
You're ingenuous.
Yes.
It's like genius and ingenious.
No. Okay, today we are reviewing we're reviewing two classics. We had both of these things. I just purchased this Blu-ray, and Jason got me this book for Christmas. Thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
And we decided that rather than putting them on two different episodes and making those episodes seem a little off-kilter, that we were just going to review two massive classics. And we need to stop saying review, I think. I think we should say discuss, which I know is pedantics, but we really don't review them.
8 out of 10.
Can you stop swishing that finger puppet on the table, please? We're back to flipping the finger puppet.
We will be soon. Flip that finger puppet. Like you've never flipped before.
Hey everybody, this is the Good Ship Brothership, and we are back to flipping the finger puppet. But anyway, so we're reviewing two massive classics. Casablanca, the film, obviously, and The Great Gatsby, the book. And yeah, we know, lots of people have talked about them before. Most of you have probably read The Great Gatsby in school and seen Casablanca in school, maybe. I don't know what they show people in schools. Probably Yu-Gi-Oh! If you want to get the most bang for your buck education-wise, I would show people Yu-Gi-Oh!
And what's more, if you're at public school, what's more secular than Yu-Gi-Oh? I can't think of anything.
True, yeah. If you want to go heathen, go full heathen and watch Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah. And, you play Magic the Gathering.
No. Magic the Gathering is just a rip-off of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Chaotic's still the best.
Actually, I've been meaning to pull out my Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards and take a look at them. I'm kind of sad, though, that I came into Yu-Gi-Oh! Later in life.
Well, we never really got into Yu-Gi-Oh!
I know.
Chaotic.
Maybe that's something we can save for retirement.
Bakugan and Beat 'em On, though. Beat 'em On.
Chaotic was the big one.
But Beat 'em On for a while. We made trophies. We took like a cute little orange hockey puck, and then
we
put
did
the little
too, yeah.
Those little like pins.
Because that was when we were playing with Ryan Bean all the time, and we were massive into that stuff together. I'm really glad I keep meaning to bring my first one in here, because in my studio here, folks, because I know this is fascinating to all of you. I keep meaning to get a little shelf of my oddities, my little, things of my past, and my shelf containing my DVDs and Blu-rays and CDs is filling up very rapidly, like scary fast. So I need some more space options in here.
We need to get to topics.
Let's get to the topics.
So before we flip the puppet, though, I did just want to say
there's something inherently strange about that.
You got to work your way up to flipping the puppet. You don't want to go in too hot.
You can't just dive right into the puppet.
But I thought it was good that we would review these two together, because The Great Gatsby is this depiction of life in the Roaring 20s with, excess and fast living. And then
fast living. Apostrophe.
And then Casablanca is this more toned down, like, I guess late 30s, early 40s. Early 40s.
Yeah, because Casablanca would take place right before The Great.
No, like 20 years after. This is sometime after 1922. This is Casablanca's around 1943, because it's during World War II.
Is it World War II?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Okay, so we will flip the puppet. I'm going to say that if his eyes are up, we will review Casablanca first.
Okay. Actually, okay, his eyes are up. I was gonna say if it's chronological, maybe we should go Great Gatsby.
Let's go the Great Gatsby first, then. Heck you, Oliver.
Yeah, this is the second time we flipped the puppet, and we are just blatantly disregarding the outcome.
Sometimes you gotta
the puppet has spoken. We told him to take his wisdom and shove it up his heck. Whoa, that's gonna have to be redacted.
What?
We can't say that here. There's Christians who listen to this show. Yeah. We're Christians. Look at this. I'm wearing a cross about my neck right now.
But you also have a Chinese coin.
Yeah, because
strange medicine.
I love all people, even the Chinese. Anyway.
Okay, that might not be it.
Even the Chinese.
If anything, I get redacted.
No, what have I done?
No, it's fine.
I don't think any Asians listen to this show yet. If there are Asians,
we love you.
Yeah, we accept you and love you, and we hope that you really like The Great Gatsby.
Redacted.
What was I even gonna say? You completely derailed me. You completely, with your casual racism. This is not what this show's about.
Okay, why don't you
Great
start
Gatsby.
us off?
What the heck was I gonna say?
So, The Great Gatsby is a book written by F. Scott Fitzgerald. It was written in...
Oh, I just remembered.
Oh, jeez.
Okay, so while we do these discussions, everybody, well, we need to do this before we get into the discussions. While we do these discussions, we're going to try our level best not to enter spoiler territory. If we do, we're going to put a little notice in front of it, like something, like this.
Okay. So if you hear that sound,
Yep.
then you'll know. Okay. So, and then we'll,
Yes.
So, The Great Gatsby was F. Scott Fitzgerald's second novel, and he released it in 1925. So I guess it was a present-day book at the time, which is weird to think of.
That is kind of strange.
And it tells a story through the eyes of Nick, who is this, I don't know, like late 20s, maybe 30.
His last name Carraway.
Nick Carraway.
I think they're around 30 years old.
He's around 30 years old, and he's just moved from the Midwest into New York to try and make it big as a bondsman. And so he's living this like normal middle class life, but he's just surrounded by all these rich people. He has his neighbor, the namesake of the book, Jay Gatsby, who lives beside him in this huge mansion. And then, you know, across the bay from them, they have...
Spoilers. No, that's not spoilers.
That's not spoilers.
I know, I'm just joking.
And then across the bay from them are like his cousin and his old friend, who is his cousin's wife, Tom and Daisy. And so it's just a story about how all of them interact together, I guess, and the pressures that come upon people when you're living in these rich surroundings.
I think more than almost anything, it's a analysis and analysis makes it sound really douchey, but it's a discussion about wealth. I think, and how one comes upon it, how it changes you, and how you think it changes you, perhaps, which is interesting because there isn't a whole lot of wealth being accrued or lost in the... I think it's how life is viewed through the lens of wealth, which is interesting because, I mean, the analysis or the synopsis, whatever we just listened to, said that there's two types of wealth, old money and new money. And the old money is Tom and Daisy Buchanan, who live across... What?
They have the old money, and then...
What are you shaking your head?
We shouldn't say too much about that because that could be spoilers.
Some of the characters have old money, Tom and Daisy Buchanan, and then some of the other characters have new money, and it's about how, which is really true, how those people are different depending on
whether it's been given to you or you acquired it.
Yeah, how you've acquired your wealth. I'll say I really enjoyed the book, reading it. It's difficult. This book has so much attached to it, even more than I think Casablanca had attached to it for me, even though you hear a lot people saying, oh, Casablanca is such a great movie. I think The Great Gatsby has a lot more added to it when not only is it a great book, there have been 2 amazing movies made about it. Yeah. The movies have won awards and they're based on this book, and you go in thinking, you know, this is going to be something that maybe it's not. And like a lot of stuff, and this will come up in the discussion on Casablanca too, much more low-key, I think, than it would be had it been written now, looking back. And I love that restraint, that sense of restraint that older books, movies, I guess you could, maybe not music, but books and movies tend to have. The classics have this great sense of restraint. Yeah. They never overextend, they never step out of their bounds. The setting is really great. I liked it a lot. I really liked in between the two, the West Egg and East Egg, as they were called, which really kind of bothered me. Just the egg. I don't know. It just made me think of like a clammy egg salad. Okay, but that's my own. Those are my own demons.
It's not West Egg salad. It's just a West Egg.
That would be.
It's not a literal egg.
Egg salad. But anyway, the setting's really great, and they're kind of divided by this weird like desert of ash kind of thing, right?
Yeah. A little bit of desolation.
It's never really, I don't think it's really explained why it's there. But that's a very interesting, it's like the gulf between the old money and the new money. Yeah. And I thought that was quite interesting. And then there are some interesting characters who actually live in that area. Another thing I found interesting, and then you can dive in, was the age of the characters as well. I really like the age of 30-ish, like right around there. It's nothing like a coming of age tale.
Yeah.
Like in the slightest. These people are well established people. They become who they are.
Yeah.
The Katy Perry lyric in there somewhere. But they become, themselves some time ago. And it's how they interact after that. So their personalities or their characters are never in question or in flux.
Yeah. And it's really a story for almost all the characters. I think they're young enough that their youth, I guess, is relatively recent, but they're out of it. And there are several of the characters who are really trying to, like, recapture and, like, stay in that kind of golden age. Yeah. And it's an interesting story about, all the money in the world can't keep you young forever.
Yep, that's also a good... I didn't really think about that, but that was
I think that's a huge part. Like, the characters are using their wealth to try and keep things the way they were before they even had money.
Yeah.
And they don't accept that it's just different.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think the book, despite not being, like, action-packed, I think it has an awesome sense of rhythm, pace, momentum. It's not a mystery per se, but there always is a mystery to be solved. Gatsby himself is a very enigmatic character, and just when you uncover one thing about him or about somebody else, another question you might have pops up and made me want to keep reading.
I think one of the real triumphs of the book is how a lot of the a lot of the book, we haven't seen either movie, by the way.
Right.
Just say that. We haven't seen either of the Great Gatsby movies, so we can't speak to those. But I think one of the triumphs of this book is all throughout the book there's all these parties, right? All these big parties of rich and popular, fashionable people who don't really know each other. They don't want to know each other. They don't even really know why they're there, frankly. They're just there kind of as something to do.
It's the thing to do.
Yeah. And many of them, I don't think it's a spoiler to say, take place at Gatsby's.
Yeah, that's not.
And it's this heady, disorienting kind of environment, right? Where you just kind of lose yourself for hours and hours. And it really... And they feast on gossip and rumors of each other. And it really funnels you into that kind of mindset by feeding you scraps, as it were, of gossip, of rumor about the characters. And you find yourself, kind of to your shock and dismay, wondering the exact same things about them that these other people who you think lowly of are.
And I think the parties, too, are an interesting commentary on the whole rest of the book.
Yep.
Because it's these people who have a ton of wealth for whatever reason, and they're not really sure what they're doing with their lives or what they're doing at the party, and they just kind of float around.
Well, the thing is, with people who have that much money, too, is they don't need to do anything with their lives. Yeah. I think that's part of the point, too, is like these are the lives.
Jobs.
Yeah, these are the lives of these people. They literally just party and they just hang out.
And I think Nick, or not even the protagonist, the narrator.
Oh, high five.
I think he does a really excellent job of being like your frame of reference, because he's not a poor guy by any stretch of the imagination, but he's like a young professional, middle class.
He's trying to get started.
Yeah, they describe his house as being like clean and attractive, but it's like this smaller, like normal house. And then he's just surrounded by mansions, and I think he's a great touchstone for what the rest of the world is like, kind of.
Now, one thing that did kind of bother me a little bit is they never say, because they only say Gatsby is his next door neighbor. Again, not a spoiler, I don't think.
No.
Especially for how popular
it's at the beginning of the book.
Anyway, they never really give you a full picture. Are there other houses around them? Because I literally, for the entire book, just pictured a wide open field, and then there's a little farmhouse next to this massive castle kind of thing. And he never expounds on that at all.
Yeah.
It just would have been nice to know, are there any other people around, or are they completely out and isolated? Because that could have had interesting implications as well.
And I think... Oh, excuse me. I think it's a book, too...
It's 8:30, Jason. Don't fade on me now.
That you could love or hate, because he describes a decent amount, but he also leaves quite a bit up to the imagination.
Yeah.
And if you like that sort of... perceived narrative, then that's awesome, which I do. But I couldn't hold it against someone if, like, that bugged me.
I have to say, one of the things, and this is not exclusive to this book, one of the things that did bother me, so many writers do this, and as somebody who's writing my own book right now, I just have to think, why are you doing this? So, he makes, throughout the book, and you might completely disagree on me with this, because this is quite subjective, but he describes such strange things about people, things that the average person or a person would never notice. So one of the things is how Gatsby sits. And then he says, it means he's a man of action who's played, American sports, and just goes into all this detail just from the way he sits. And he did that, all throughout the book, kind of more or less with each character.
And you want to show, don't tell. Is that where you're going?
Yeah, but it's also like, who notices that? Who looks at somebody and says, from the way that man's sitting, he must have played American football. Like, it's just... Yeah. And maybe that's more of a relic of the time. It's certainly poetic. Is it evocative? It's fairly evocative, I suppose. Can I picture the way Gatsby sits now? Not really. Like, you could just say he had a tremendous amount of nervous energy and he was always, tapping his feet or something like that. So that was one thing that I found a little irritating, and it popped up not a ton of times, maybe 4 times throughout the book that he would go on that sort of thing. Yeah. Did you notice that at all?
I didn't notice it. I understand where you're coming from, though. It's a strange mixture of just telling you like what he looks like and giving you little details. It's not really, it's kind of the worst of both worlds. It's not specific enough, but it's also not like what's the word I'm looking for?
Not broad enough, or impressionistic?
It's not like impressionistic enough. Yeah. Too much detail, but not enough detail.
I guess as a writer, the things that I try and observe are the things that my character would notice. And I mean, maybe Nick notices how people sit, and Sherlock Holmes is out their entire sports careers as a result of that. But I don't know. I just like it to be a little more earthy when I'm writing, or reading for that matter.
Yeah, but I don't really think
that's a small squabble.
I don't really think there's anything earthy about the book, though. Really, it's not like a gritty like. I think you're totally you're seeing it through the eyes of Nick, but you also have a bird's eye view. You know more than he would know, and you see more than he sees. Yeah. So he's only partially the narrator.
Jason, should we pause or should you entertain the people? Because I need a bathroom break now.
Well, here's the crazy thing about technology. Go, and then if I don't do something cool, we'll just cut it out.
That's true. Okay, goodbye, everybody. I'm taking my phone because it might be a while.
So, jeez, the computer keeps going to sleep, and I gotta keep it awake so that the recording doesn't stop. Although, who cares? It's just me. You don't care about me. You don't care about anything. So I guess closing thoughts on The Great Gatsby, because I would think we're gonna wrap this up right after Grant gets back. I really think it does do a good job of showing you small details that convey the bigger picture, and that could be grating, like what Grant said. It bothered him how they describe just the way a man sits, but at the same time, I really enjoyed it. Like, for example, they'll describe, when I was a child, there was a small plastic tractor around the size of a child's tricycle. In fact, it was a tricycle by design. And I would ride around indoors because that was, I guess, seemed like the right thing to do at the time. But I would not use the pedals. I would simply propel the 3-wheeled vehicle by putting my chubby little feet on the floor and just like pushing away with all my might. So I was kind of running, but I was also just seated on a tricycle. And I would gain really just tremendous speeds as I would travel through the small raised bungalow that we lived in at the time. And we had an island in the house. And as I approached the island, I would treat it like a very tight corner. And I would drift the vehicle around, power slide, you might say, right around the island, as though I were a young Nigel Mansell with bald tires. And then I would just power off, assumedly from whence I came. I think that life is very much like the young Jason Andrews astride a tricycle. We travel at tremendous speeds.
Really? Okay.
And yet...
Interruption.
I just figured we'll cut most of it out, but
I'm back, everybody.
I was just kind of...
I have half watched half of the new Wolverine... Oh, there goes that.
I was just
half
kind
of the new Wolverine film. Wait, did I see the trailer? Because I haven't watched half of the movie.
Film, yeah.
Oh,
I was like,
watched
wow,
part
you
of the
were gone
trailer.
for a while.
The thing with when you have to visit the restroom after having coffee is the result is
Transcendental.
it's way more like coffee than I feel like it should be.
Way more like coffee?
Yeah. Why are you holding the pop filter? It's
I was
got
just
it,
repositioning
stop
it.
it. It's got a little arm to keep it where it is. It's good. Okay. Where were we?
We were
Great
just,
Gatsby.
I think, about to close on the Great Gatsby.
I think so, yeah.
So,
One thing, quickly.
yes.
My last little note. Oh, I'm crossing out all my other notes so I don't look down at them and then go, ugh, I'm so disoriented. I'd like to say the change that comes over the title character, I think we can say that. That's fine.
Yeah.
At a certain point, just not necessarily the demystification, but kind of, I'd say the demystification of him and the different light that you then view him in is like very impressive.
Yeah.
That to me was one of the biggest triumphs of the book, just because it was he was still very much the same character, but you really view him in a different light or from a different angle. And it's amazing that he managed to keep it the same character, but just change your view of him.
Right.
Very impressive. Your closing
That's
thoughts. Great book. Read it.
I think it is really an all-time classic. It has the great writing and kind of the verbosity that books had back then, in the 20s. But it's still quite easy to read. Just from, I've read some books, like, say, Crime and Punishment. Couldn't get through Crime and Punishment. It was just a little much in terms of verbosity and stuff. This is still a very easy book to read. I think almost anyone would enjoy it unless you read, expressly Pulp Fiction novels.
It's kind of, it's not, I think what you're trying to say is it's never highbrow in its presentation.
No, it's
which
just easy to read.
Again, I think, well, actually that's a false thing to say, but I was going to say this is kind of before pretension really existed in art, but that's
really
false. I think it's just we've separated the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
And both of the items we're reviewing today there is no highbrow element to them whatsoever,
For sure.
and they are very accessible.
Yeah. And you totally derailed my thought train.
I'm really sorry.
Give me a second. It's really good.
Okay, Casablanca. So as I've really been sinking my teeth into the world of film a little bit more, I figured, heck, Casablanca, I'd say Casablanca and Citizen Kane are like the two big daddies of classic cinema.
Two of them for sure. I mean, let's not forget hit movies like Castaways or Chef.
Name a chef.
Name Chef.
So anyway, have not yet seen Citizen Kane, but it's on my wish list on Netflix. Maybe I'll get it for my birthday, maybe I won't.
Your wish list on Netflix.
Oh, it's on Amazon actually. Netflix is a different thing. You can't make a wish list on Netflix. See, here's the thing. When you're podcasting, you're speaking, but you're also thinking about the next thing you're going to say and where it's going and how they connect and the beautiful tapestry that you're trying to weave.
And you're
with your
thinking
words.
that either or both of Ingrid Bergman and Humphrey Bogart are on your wish lists. Is that it?
Yeah, I mean, Ingrid Bergman's less attractive than Humphrey, I'd say. Just on the whole.
No fault of her own, just credit to Humphrey.
Yeah, agreed. Anyway, so I decided that Casablanca should be something I should watch, and I dragged Jason along with me, though he was completely unwilling. I have to say. He was like, Casablanca, it's in black and white. I can't hear when people speak in black and white.
I never watch movies in black and white, not like last episode or anything, where I talked about one of my favorite movies of all time in black and white.
What?
So what do you think of Casablanca?
Going into Casablanca, you and I both had absolutely... It was weird, the information we had on it going in. The only things I really knew were that the cinematography is ahead of its time, and that they used light and shadow a lot. And in terms of making the whole area seem like a prison, you know, the plants...
Very oppressive in general.
Casting shadows. There's always like prison cell bar shadows slanting across the walls. People are always wearing like the horizontally striped black and white shirts and stuff like that. The women, I guess, blouses.
Blouse.
Should it be blouses or blouses?
Blouse.
Blouses. Blouses.
I think it would be a blouse or blouses.
Blouse is such a gross word.
Is it not?
Blouse.
Is it not a blouse?
The more we say this, the
less it sounds like something.
The less it sounds real. A blouse. It sounds like a type of bird.
Come to think of it, I don't know if I've ever seen a blouse.
One grouse or a blouse, which is a big group of... Anyway. So that's all I knew. I don't know about you, but that's all I knew from listening to podcasts and stuff, is that it was rich in symbolism and way ahead of its time. Aside from that, no knowledge of the characters, setting, story whatsoever. And I have to say, my expectations for the movie were definitely met.
Yeah. Personally.
It is a really, really atmospheric... It's amazing to me how... Okay, let me rephrase this now. Given the chance, would you see this movie in color?
I mean, given the chance, yeah. I think it would be worse.
Because that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, if somebody came up to me and said, you know, I could make Casablanca color, like, but it would never be in black and white.
Oh,
you know?
well, no.
I'm just gonna say, it's amazing how much can be done with black and white.
It's because the cinematography is all about chromatics and not about like the color wheel.
Yeah, but even like just in regular scenes, like when they're in Rick's, which is it's a bar or maybe more of a nightclub.
Can I take a second and kind of explain the summary?
Yeah, please.
So during the World War II,
the World War II.
Oh no! During the World War II.
Okay, during World War II,
so
people are fleeing
Europe, France.
Europe in general.
Yeah.
Europe and parts beyond as well to head for America. And one of the
checkpoints,
passages or doorways to America is Casablanca, which is a small town in Morocco.
I believe so. So people are trying to get from Europe to Lisbon, Portugal, but they have to go through Casablanca to get there.
And I was just delighted. I said this to you when we were watching it. The choice of setting and time is like, oh, I'm so jealous I didn't think of this, because you've got all these people from different... There are powerful political people. There are nobodies. There are people who have become somebody, like, you know, parallels back to the Great Gatsby kind of. And it's just this amazing melting pot. There's an amazing scene. I keep saying amazing. There's a great scene in the beginning where they kind of pan through Rick's and show you these tables containing all these different types of people, and they all have the same thing in common. They all want to get through to, Lisbon?
Yeah.
They all want to get through to Lisbon. The problem is the borders are mostly shut, and you have to be issued papers to get through to Lisbon. So that's kind of the backdrop of the story. The characters being Rick, who is played by the one and only Humphrey Bogart. Or Hunkry Bogart, as I like to call him. And there are... I can't remember the names of the others. It's a guy and a girl.
Let's not forget Henry. Is that his name?
What do you mean?
The piano player?
No, that's Sam.
Sam.
Or Sam or Henry.
Elsa is the love interest.
Sam, also known as Henry. Elsa? Is that her name?
That is.
Oh.
And then Victor Laszlo.
Would you say that it's essentially a romance?
Yeah, I would say it's a story of jilted love.
Because where does it say?
It is absolutely a romance.
I thought it said the greatest love story ever.
Before we get too into it, first parallel, because I like to draw parallels between the things we reviewed. I really sense the book, The Great Gatsby, is really about what you have and what the people have. This movie, Casablanca, is not about what you have, but about who you know.
I thought you were going to say what you had, and I was going to be like, that's deep
and
true.
That's true also.
Yep.
But no, it's about who you know, because it's difficult to get visas to get out of Casablanca.
Yeah.
And it's all about, like Rick is this guy, he runs like the central hangout, he knows everybody, he's the man.
He is the man. He's kind of like a very powerful figure in Casablanca, but not in terms of political stature or anything like that.
But
just
within social stature.
Within the community, the social stature. And Humphrey Bogart's portrayal of him is just like delightful. And I say that in the most manly. It is delightful. But his portrayal of him, he smiles like twice in the entire movie. He's never really, I guess you could say he's brooding. But he also just seems a little withdrawn. But Humphrey Bogart is that character, and that character is so well portrayed and so seamless. And I feel like one often doesn't associate old movies with good acting.
Yeah,
like I would say in general, acting and movies have gotten better with time.
Fight me.
In general,
I agree.
But acting specifically, because in a lot of the old movies, they had this very theatrical air about their performances, and they're very over the top and what's the word I'm looking for? Like just kind of thespian qualities, and even in how the shots are framed and presented, they're very. Is tableau? Would that be the correct?
I guess.
Like
it's a static shot.
Yeah, static shot. All the characters are there, reacting to each other. That was.
The characters just react to each other.
Characters are just all around reacting.
So profound.
Man.
Shut it down.
That was very evocative. But anyway, this movie definitely feels ahead of its time in terms of the acting and in terms, I would say, of the cinematography. The use of light and shade is completely next level. And I would say, in terms of a black and white film, easily trumps Embrace of the Serpent.
It makes more use of being black and white.
Yeah. I'd Embrace of the Serpent
is a better movie.
Embrace of the Serpent leverages the black and white to its advantage wonderfully, and I wouldn't want to see that movie in color either. But Casablanca uses light and shadow in the context of black and white in a completely next level way, and it's really something amazing.
Can I run through some notes?
I don't know. Can you?
Yes.
All right.
So I think the frames are incredibly well done.
Yep.
And I'm gonna retread a little bit over what you said. But what really sticks out in my mind is the framing and the use of light and shadow, as opposed to using colors for contrast or even like shapes and objects to balance a shot. It's all done with light and shadow, which really adds the visual weight, instead of maybe you would have a tall building on one side and an open sky on the other, and that's like your balance. But with this, it's all done with light and shadow. I think there's a scene when Rick goes to get the money out of the safe, and he actually walks out of the frame, but you can still see his shadow, like getting all the stuff out of the
as he walks out of the frame, his shadow
starts to walk onto the wall, kind of, as it were.
Shifts backward. That was
stuff like
you and I
awesome.
When we were watching the movie and that scene happened, you and I both looked at each other and were like, whoa. Because think of, the angle of the wall, and then where he was standing, which is, next to the wall, face like perpendicular, we'll say, to the wall. And the angle that they must have had to have, because the shadow that gets cast back a couple feet, probably 5-6 feet, is very proportionate.
Yeah, it's not
like, it
distorted.
doesn't look distorted or stretched or anything. The angle that they must have had to position that those powerful lights at.
Yeah.
And to make it look natural too, because it looks like a naturally lit environment.
Yeah.
Is like.
That's what another thing I have written here is obviously they still had to use some lighting, but it looks so much more ambient and natural than most movies.
Yeah.
If you watch a lot of movies, you'll notice at nighttime, it doesn't really look like nighttime. It looks like dusk. Yeah. But in this movie, like when they're sitting in a cafe and the lights are all turned out, it's like black. Like you can barely see anything except just sweeping searchlights like panning through.
I think that is one of the big triumphs of, or not triumph, a huge benefit of black and white. Dark really looks dark in black and white. And my favorite scene in the movie, which was when Sam, his piano playing kind of friend that he met in Paris and then brought with him to Casablanca, him and Sam are sitting in the cafe or the bar or whatever late at night, and Rick's getting a little drunk. He's waiting for this girl to show up, as he's sure she will, and Sam's playing the piano, and it's just a gorgeous shot with Humphrey sitting at the table with facing the camera with, you know, a bottle and a glass, and then Sam's just behind him softly playing the piano, and it is just gorgeous. Like, just the framing, like you said, the lighting looks so natural. You almost feel like you could reach out and touch Humphrey's gorgeous face.
Wish I could.
Yeah.
I think the shots are still like a play. You notice there's not much camera movement, which I think totally works for that. I don't think you could ever get away with it now. I think if you did a movie like that now, it would be like, what are you thinking? But I think it works okay for that.
Well, I think that it never really bothered me. I think both you and I would agree the one cinematography related gripe we have is whenever they show Ingrid Bergman's face. They use like a really weird soft focus, and I think it's just to establish her more feminine, glowing kind of attributes, but it is
annoying.
It looks tacky as heck. People,
it's like really bad.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah, it is.
But it is quite jarring.
Literally every time I saw just her face, I was like, oh.
It is weird. It looks like they just took Vicks Vapor Rub and smeared it on the lens, and they're like, excellent.
Like, it is quite bad, because every time I see a shot of her face, I was just like, oh, what are you thinking? And it kind of pulled me out of it.
Yeah.
So it did really suck.
Mm-hmm. It's like the camera equivalent of smearing loads of makeup on. Another thing that I need to address is the dialogue in this movie is actually really good.
The rapport is great.
The rapport is, I wrote down here, one time one character has a gun pointed at another character's heart, and he says, this gun is pointed right at your heart, and the guy comes back with, that's my least vulnerable spot. And I was like, got him. And there's so many just like natural feeling little moments like that where you're just like, whoo, and there's just some snappy comebacks that I did not expect, because most of the time, again, when you watch an older movie, you expect the dialogue is going to be a little clunky, a little cheesy, a little unnatural. For the most part in this movie, everything seems really natural, especially anything that comes out of Humphrey Bogart's mouth. He is way better than I ever thought that he would be.
But also Sam and Ingrid Bergman, Elsa. Yeah. And even Victor Laszlo and Louis are all like great actors.
Yeah, that's true. And another thing that was quite nice too is the Moroccan characters. Yeah. Were never really portrayed in a way to me that felt kind of like that weird racist vibe that like old movies often have to them. Not necessarily racist, but definitely racial profiling, if I can be an SJW about it.
Yeah, that's true.
All the characters are portrayed as, nobody was like way smarter than you know, anybody else, and everybody's a little conniving and a little twisted in this movie. But it was such a, and this is the great movies for me have such a heady, immersive quality or tone to them, and this is totally, I was sucked right in. Yeah, you know, and even talking about it now, I'm back there.
Oh, for sure. Also, I want to throw out the number of iconic phrases introduced in the movie. Blows me away.
You know, looking at you, kid.
He was looking at you, kid. Louis, I think this is the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Like, And then
there are 2 more. There are 4 of them.
Were there 4? I have 3 written down here. I have those 2, and then I have you're going to regret this. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon and for the rest of your life. And I hear that, and I'm like, man, they put all this in one. Like, the dialogue is so much better than most movies today or ever. It's fantastic.
You often don't get, like, here's looking at you, kid. It's just got a romantic kind of vibe to it. This awesome, suave, debonair. Also, pretty much every single one of those lines, if not every single one of them, Humphrey Bogart, my dude.
Yeah.
It just this amazing, like, suave swagger to it that literally, and I'll challenge you on this, no movies now have.
Yeah.
None. And especially Hollywood movies. Yeah.
And when he first said it, they're kind of having, like, what would you call it? Like,
sexy times?
Tube radio and chill is what I was trying to think of.
Tube radio and chill.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Thank you.
Telegraph and chill.
Yeah. And yeah, he's like, here's looking at you, kid. And then when he says it later, it's like a much more like kind of somber, and it's just like he just seems kind of tired and over it. And it's a great way to tie those 2 scenes together and make them seem connected yet also disparate and contrasted.
I just wish that, why doesn't Hollywood try and make movies like this anymore? Again, like we were saying about The Great Gatsby, this movie never overextends. One person I think gets shot in it.
Yeah.
And it's not really a non-event, but it's not like a
pinnacle.
There's no big chases or anything. There are moments of quiet tension, but these can't movies now just be tasteful?
And it's so much more tense for that because when you have all these explosive action sequences, you're doing is you're letting out all the tension and aggression and stuff. And when this doesn't have that as much, then it just slowly builds and builds and builds, and then just there's just kind of a gentle release.
Yeah, anyway. And Humphrey Bogart, amazing. And I cannot say that enough. His portrayal of the character Rick was, for me, the one thing that really drew me into the movie was wanting to know more about this guy and having him be such a well-rounded character in terms of he's never his faults are never garishly on display. His what's the opposite of a fault? His good things.
I'm just gonna leave you guys.
I'm a writer.
Strengths.
Yes, thank you. His strengths are never blown out of proportion. He's a very believable, but at the same time, clearly fictional character. They don't try. It's not like now where a movie is either just. Jason, are you serious?
Hello.
This is not Tech Corner.
Can I have a pizza, please?
This is the Good Ship Brothership. You're listening to the Good Ship Brothership on no radio stations ever.
Maybe someday.
I would be shocked.
96.7
Brothership. You think we're gonna be on Chime FM?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
570 News.
Right in there with the top 40.
Traffic and weather on the ones, and then it would be Brothers on the twos.
2 brothers on the 2. Anyway. Yeah, movies now either lean towards like insanely gritty and honestly, the portrayal that Humphrey Bogart whips up here does make, say, and this is like not really a suitable comparison, but say Batman from the Christopher Nolan trilogies. It does make that character seem less grounded and more cartoonish.
Yeah, which it is funny you say that because Batman is a cartoon.
Not that one. That's live action.
It's still like a cartoon.
It's not. It's live action. It's definitively.
It's based on a cartoon.
Yeah, but it's not a cartoon. Anyway, it's so nice. Both of these, the book and the movie, are so well balanced and well rounded, and they just stay reserved. They stay within their means, and they are way better for it. If Casablanca had devolved into a massive car chase and a gunfight at the end of it, it would not be half the movie it is now for just staying true to its character and what it is. I think that's honestly the number one takeaway I've had from these 2 things, and it'll definitely impact me in in my writing of my own book, because I did have plans when I was going into it to have a big finish and something weird happen or violent or something. And then after these two, I think compelling characters in compelling settings will always be more interesting than bland, shallow characters in ridiculous
Levels are looking a little low there.
levels. Well, let's see.
Leaning.
Hello. I think we're good.
Okay.
Thanks for derailing that, though.
Well, I think
It's
to a
chugging a
conclusion
lot.
anyways.
It's chugging quite a bit. It's
Yeah,
making me very nervous.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. So let me pose a really unfair, but I mean, whatever. Everything we do is unfair comparison. Do you like The Great Gatsby better, or do you like Casablanca better?
I feel like I'd honestly go with Casablanca just because, I mean, as a movie, it's way easier, I think, to view in retrospect because you sit down, you watch it in one sitting, and then, but Casablanca, for me, just really blew me away, and part of it's the expectations that were associated with it too. I didn't have as much knowledge as I did in The Great Gatsby, but especially for the Humphrey Bogart performance and stuff like that, Casablanca for me is just the perfect encapsulated story that never does anything that it shouldn't.
I guess it's like, would you rather sit in the cafe for an hour, or do you want somebody to tell you about like their crazy adventures back with all the rich people?
Maybe that's part of it too, because this Casablanca is much more of a bird's eye view. Great Gatsby is much more of a recount.
Let me tell you about this. Yeah. You get the impression that it's happened in the past.
So maybe Casablanca is a little more immersive.
Oh, for sure.
In that sense. What about you?
I think I would like The Great Gatsby.
All right, everybody. So after this point, we pretty much established that Jason likes The Great Gatsby more than Casablanca, and I like Casablanca more than The Great Gatsby. Unfortunately, we had another one of these weird audio dropouts. I think it must be some problem with my software. We're really sorry. We're going to have it fixed for next episode.
Hopefully.
Well, it must be some setting with the software I'm using. My bit sampling is too high or something. But anyway, yeah, so it just cut out there, and we're really, really sad now. But we were really happy before, but we still feel like it's a good episode, right, Jason?
Yeah. It was worth your time.
I've never heard less conviction from somebody.
Mean, if you've made it to this point, you probably agree. So,
I guess, but they might not agree that it's the best episode we've done.
Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I hope you think it was the best episode we've done.
And we're sorry.
Yeah, we're really depressed right now.
If you come to my house the next 10 minutes, you'll get a cookie as a token of my apology.
Yeah, we'll be giving out this episode for free as a result of this malfunction.
Yeah, and if you're here before 10:30 p.m. on Friday, January the 20th, 2017, you will get a fresh baked cookie.
Anybody? Nope, no takers. Okay, goodbye.
No!
Okay.